Beyond Babylon, the philosophy and practice of Rastafari. Hello and welcome to another episode of Philosophy Examined, your place to explore philosophical and spiritual currents that shape our world. In this video, we're exploring Rastafarianism, a vibrant, significant, yet often misunderstood spiritual movement that emerged from the small island of Jamaica. Rastafari, or Rastafarianism, sprouted in the early 1930s in the heartland of Jamaica, at a time when Africa's decolonization was gaining momentum, and Afro-Jamaicans sought to reclaim their African heritage. This spiritual and socio-political movement was a potent response to the socio-economic hardships and racism faced by the black population. Central to Rastafari beliefs is the veneration of Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia, who ascended to the throne in 1930. His crowning was more than just a historical event for the people of Ethiopia, it sent ripples of revelation across the ocean to Jamaica, where it was seen as the fulfillment of biblical prophecies, particularly the prophecy from Psalm 68:31, "Princes shall come out of Egypt, Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God." The ascension of a black king in Africa sparked the genesis of Rastafari. Selassie is revered by Rastafarians as the second coming of Christ and God incarnate, often referred to by the term Jah. The title Ras means head, an Ethiopian honorific, and Tafari is taken from Selassie's pre-coronation name, meaning one to be feared. Thus, Rastafarians see themselves as followers of Rastafari, the head to be revered. In the Rastafari view, Jesus Christ holds a unique place, not as the traditionally depicted Caucasian figure, common in Western Christianity, but as a black person. This re-envisioning of Jesus' identity is fundamental to Rastafari's challenge against the dominant narratives of white supremacy, and the portrayal of divinity in Eurocentric terms. Rastafarians firmly assert that Jesus was of African descent, specifically from the tribe of Judah, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. They believe this truth has been suppressed in mainstream religious teachings as part of the larger systemic racial oppression. Therefore, the representation of Jesus in Rastafari, while rooted in biblical tradition, significantly deviates from mainstream Christian interpretations. It serves not just a theological purpose but also a socio-political one, aiding in the affirmation of African heritage and identity, and underlining Rastafari's resistance against racial and cultural domination. Selassie's significance cannot be overstated. Rastafarians believe that his lineage can be traced back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, tying him directly to the sacred history recorded in the Bible. His speeches, particularly those compiled in the book, The Wise Mind of Emperor Haile Selassie I, are considered sacred texts, offering guidance on everything from spirituality to social justice. Despite his godly status within the Rastafari movement, it's worth noting that Selassie himself was an adherent of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and never claimed divinity. Nonetheless, the respect and reverence accorded to him by Rastafarians remains undiminished, as he embodies the liberation, empowerment, and divine connection central to their faith. Rastafarians celebrate Selassie's birthday on July 23, known as Earthstrong, with ceremonies that include drumming, chanting, dancing, feasting, and the reading of Selassie's speeches. In these celebrations and their everyday lives, Rastafarians maintain a strong spiritual connection to Jah through the figure of Selassie, keeping the heartbeat of their faith alive. A pivotal figure in the early days was Leonard Percival Howell, 1898–1981, often referred to as the first Rasta. Howell, a charismatic and controversial figure, defiantly challenged the prevailing norms of society and the oppressive grip of British colonial rule. In a society still tethered to the vestiges of colonial hierarchy and the norms of a Eurocentric worldview, Howell courageously advocated for the divinity of Selassie. This was a radical assertion, conferring divine status to a living black man at a time when white superiority was the widespread assumption. Howell's teachings were not just about spiritual elevation, they were a call to action, promoting African nationalism, deeply rooted in the ideology of repatriation to Africa, a place that many Rastafarians consider to be their true home. This was a call for Black people to reclaim their African heritage, to take pride in their ancestry and to strive for socio-political freedom and self-determination. The roots of Rastafari also intertwine with the legacy of another influential figure, Marcus Garvey, 1887–1940, a Jamaican political leader, publisher, journalist, entrepreneur, and proponent of the Pan-Africanism movement. Although not a Rastafarian himself, Garvey's teachings heavily influenced the nascent Rastafari movement. His call for Black pride and self-determination, as well as his prophecy, "Look to Africa, when a Black king shall be crowned, for the day of deliverance is near," predated and set the stage for the emergence of Rastafari. In fact, when Selassie was crowned in 1930, many saw this as the fulfillment of Garvey's prophecy, thus fortifying the spiritual and political dimensions of the Rastafari movement. Garvey's message of Pan-African unity and Black empowerment remains a fundamental component of Rastafari philosophy today. Howell, building on this foundation, helped shape the tenets of the Rastafari movement. His work, such as The Promised Key, though controversial and even banned in Jamaica, was pivotal in articulating the Rastafarian worldview. Despite facing significant persecution, including arrests and internment, Howell, along with other preachers such as Joseph Hibbert and Archibald Dunkley, persisted in their mission. They fostered a growing community of followers, known as Howellites, holding meetings and ceremonies that would form the basis for the communal gatherings or groundations of modern Rastafari. Their resilience under pressure, their relentless fight against oppression, and their unwavering dedication to the ideals of unity, freedom, and dignity were instrumental in shaping the Rastafari movement. They paved the way for Rastafari to grow from a marginalized group into a global spiritual and socio-political force, forever marking its place in the annals of religious history. Moving on to practices. Rastafarians are guided by a code known as the Livity. This is more than just a set of rules or a spiritual guide, it's a way of life, a holistic approach that seeks harmony with nature and Jah, the divine essence of life. A critical aspect of the Livity is the dietary rules, known as the Ital diet. Derived from the word vital, this diet is centered around consuming food in its most natural state, in order to maintain the body's health and vibrancy. Rastafarians reject processed foods, artificial additives, and meat, especially pork, favoring instead a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and natural herbs and spices. The Ital diet reflects their belief in the sanctity of life, their respect for the earth, and the interconnectedness of the body, mind, and spirit. Marijuana, or ganja, as it's often called, is another significant element of Rastafarian practices. Unlike mainstream society's perception of marijuana usage, within the Rastafari movement, it plays a deeply ritualistic and sacramental role. Ganja is used to aid meditation, to inspire insightful discussions during communal gatherings, and to achieve heightened spiritual states. Smoking ganja is viewed as a means to cleanse the body and mind, and to connect more deeply with Jah. It is often consumed during religious ceremonies, accompanied by the reading of sacred texts, prayer, and music, leading to an introspective and collective spiritual experience. This practice reflects Rastafarianism's emphasis on personal spiritual exploration and the quest for understanding and wisdom. It's essential to note that these practices are not simply rituals, they are expressions of a deeply rooted philosophy. The Livity reflects Rastafarianism's commitment to living in harmony with the natural world, to respecting the sanctity of life, and to seeking spiritual growth and consciousness. Whether through the food they consume or the sacraments they partake in, Rastafarians strive to maintain a sacred bond with nature and the divine. In Rastafari, aesthetics and philosophy intertwine in powerful and symbolic ways. One of the most recognizable symbols of this faith is the iconic dreadlocks sported by Rastafarians. But these are much more than just a hairstyle, they're a profound spiritual statement. The dreadlocks are a testament to the Nazirite vow, mentioned in the Bible, specifically Numbers 6:5, where it is said, "All the days of the vow of his separation there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled, in the which he separateth himself unto the Lord, he shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow." This is seen as a symbol of a Rasta's bond with Jah, a mark of their dedication to a life set apart from mainstream society, and a representation of their natural state of being. Moreover, Rastafarian dreadlocks are also seen as a symbol of the Lion of Judah, again connecting them to Selassie and Ethiopian sovereignty. They represent the strength, pride, and sovereignty inherent in their African identity. Equally significant are the colors red, gold, and green, the Pan-African colors that are prominently displayed in the Rastafari flag and often incorporated into their clothing and other symbolic items. Each color bears potent symbolism. Red represents the martyred blood of African ancestors and the struggle for liberation. Gold symbolizes the wealth of Africa, the homeland, reflecting both its mineral riches and its cultural and spiritual wealth. And green signifies the lush vegetation of the African continent, reminding Rastafarians of their connection to the land and their commitment to living in harmony with nature. These symbols, the dreadlocks and the tricolor scheme, serve as constant reminders of the Rastafari philosophy and mission. They are statements of identity, declarations of faith, and embodiments of a rich and resilient history. They encapsulate a deep commitment to natural living, African roots, resistance against oppression, and the enduring hope for a better future. Within the Rastafari faith, there is a distinctive understanding of the roles of men and women, which is deeply rooted in their interpretation of the Bible. Traditional Rastafari culture often upholds patriarchal norms, with men seen as the head of the household and women taking on nurturing and supporting roles. Women, referred to as queens or empresses in the Rastafari faith, are highly respected and considered the backbone of the Rastafari family and community. However, their roles have typically been more circumscribed, often associated with maintaining the household, raising children, and supporting their kingman, or male partner. Many traditional Rastafari gatherings, known as groundations, have also historically been male-dominated spaces, although this has begun to change in recent times. In terms of personal conduct, modesty and naturalness are highly valued. Women traditionally cover their hair, akin to practices in many Orthodox Christian traditions, and both men and women tend to dress modestly. This is seen as a reflection of their natural liberty, a rejection of vanity and materialism, and a demonstration of their spiritual focus. Sexual relations are typically confined to committed relationships, and sexual promiscuity is often discouraged. It's important to note that these views can vary widely, as Rastafari is not a monolithic faith, and individual beliefs and practices can differ substantially. In recent years, there has been an increasing push within the Rastafari community towards gender equality, with more women participating in leadership roles and contributing to theological discussions. This represents an evolving understanding of gender within the Rastafari faith, demonstrating its ability to grow and adapt while maintaining its core principles. Rastafari and Orthodox Christianity, particularly Ethiopian Orthodoxy, share a fascinating and intricate relationship. This connection largely originates from the veneration of Emperor Haile Selassie I, who was a devout follower of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, a branch of Christianity that has existed since the 4th century AD. This ancient faith, distinct in its traditions and interpretations from Western Christian denominations, played a foundational role in shaping Selassie's worldview and, by extension, influenced the development of Rastafari. Ethiopian Orthodoxy is steeped in the Old Testament and its practices, which has made its way into Rastafari. For instance, Rastafarians often observe dietary laws similar to those found in the Book of Leviticus, abstain from pork, and men grow their hair as part of a Nazirite vow. The Rastafari celebration of Sabbath and several other holidays also find their roots in the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition. Furthermore, The importance of Africa and specifically Ethiopia in biblical narratives strengthens this connection. Ethiopia is one of the earliest nations mentioned in the Bible, and it is often associated with the Promised Land. Rastafarians, recognizing Selassie's Ethiopian Orthodoxy and the biblical significance of his homeland, often view Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity as a more authentic form of Christianity that was untainted by European influences. However, it is also important to note the differences and points of contention between the two faiths. Most significantly, the deification of Selassie in Rastafari contrasts with his own views and the teachings of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which adheres to a Trinitarian concept of God, consistent with mainstream Christianity. Despite Selassie's venerated status among Rastafarians, he himself never claimed divinity. In recent years, there have been increased dialogues and interactions between the two faiths, with some Rastafarians choosing to be baptized in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church while retaining their Rastafari beliefs. This intertwining of faiths demonstrates the dynamic and evolving nature of religious belief and practice. The decentralized nature of Rastafari is one of its distinctive aspects. Unlike many religious traditions, Rastafari does not have a formalized church structure or clergy. This reflects its origins as a grassroots movement and its emphasis on personal spiritual experience and autonomy. However, communal rituals do form a crucial part of Rastafari practice, and the gathering known as groundation is a prime example of this. Groundations can be seen as equivalent to a church service in a Christian context, but with a uniquely Rastafari flavor. These gatherings often involve prayer, Bible readings, and discussion of Rastafari principles and issues affecting the community. But what sets groundations apart is the incorporation of music, particularly drumming and chanting, reflecting the Rastafari belief in the transformative and unifying power of rhythm and sound. Of special significance during a groundation is the passing of the ganja chalice, also known as the kete or the chillum. This ritualistic use of marijuana is seen as a sacrament that aids in meditation and achieving heightened spiritual states. The communal sharing of the chalice fosters a sense of unity, equality, and collective spirituality among participants. Through these practices, Rastafarians build a spiritual community that transcends the need for institutionalized religious structures. In the absence of a formal church or clergy, the Rastafari community itself becomes the church, and each individual is considered a priest or priestess in their own right, contributing to a deeply democratic and participatory religious experience. As we delve deeper into Rastafari, it's essential to discuss the mansions of Rastafari. While the term mansion might evoke images of grand buildings, in the context of Rastafari, it refers to the different branches or orders within the movement. Each mansion has its own distinctive beliefs and practices, but they all share the central tenets of Rastafari: the divinity of Haile Selassie, the significance of Africa, and the aspiration towards righteous living. The three main mansions of Rastafari are the New Bingi, the Bobo Ashanti, and the 12 tribes of Israel. The New Bingi is the oldest of the mansions and is often seen as the orthodox order of Rastafari. It places a heavy emphasis on African repatriation, communal living, and adherence to Old Testament laws. The Bobo Ashanti, known for their strict rules and regal turbans, combines elements of the Bible and the Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's sacred text. They advocate for repatriation and reparations for slavery. Finally, the 12 tribes of Israel, considered the most liberal of the three, accepts Haile Selassie as God but also recognizes Jesus Christ as a part of the Holy Trinity. They are known for their open membership, allowing anyone to join regardless of race or nationality, and for their systematic reading of the Bible. Members are grouped into 12 tribes, modeled after the 12 tribes of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Joseph, and Benjamin. One cannot explore Rastafari without delving into the significant role that music, and reggae in particular, plays within the movement. It's not just an art form, but a profound channel for Rastafari expression and communication. The iconic Bob Marley, a member of the 12 Tribes of Israel mansion, used his lyrical genius to project Rastafari onto the global stage. Marley's music was more than just catchy tunes, it was a heartfelt articulation of Rastafari philosophies, painting vivid portraits of the struggles faced by marginalized communities and their hopes for a better future. His songs, infused with Rastafari ideologies and calls for social justice, resonated far beyond the Rastafari community, touching hearts worldwide. With his stirring melodies and poignant lyrics, Bob Marley became a universal symbol of resistance against oppression and injustice. Through his music, Rastafari teachings found their way into the homes and hearts of people all over the world, demonstrating the power of music as a tool for change and enlightenment. Despite the spiritual nature of Rastafari, it's deeply intertwined with political and social ideologies. Pan-Africanism, a belief in the unity and strength of Africans worldwide, is a pillar of Rastafari thought. The concept of Babylon, drawn from the Bible, refers to oppressive Western institutions, and is contrasted with Zion, the Promised Land, often equated with Africa. The terms hold profound symbolic significance, underpinning their worldview and reflecting their historical struggles and spiritual aspirations. Babylon, referring to the corrupted, capitalist, colonial world that righteous believers are always trying to escape, is seen as the embodiment of evil, materialism, and corruption, a system that must be resisted and ultimately overthrown. On the flip side, Zion represents the ideal state of being, the promised land of peace, freedom, and unity. For Rastafarians, Zion often equates to Africa, specifically Ethiopia, seen as the birthplace of humankind and their spiritual homeland. Yet, Zion is not just a physical place, but also a spiritual state. It represents the aspiration for a society based on justice, equity, and harmony, a stark contrast to the perceived decadence and corruption of Babylon. In the Rastafari struggle against Babylon, they don't simply seek physical repatriation to Africa, but also the spiritual, mental, and societal liberation from Babylon's influence. This dual notion of Babylon and Zion offers a profound commentary on the state of the world, as seen through the lens of Rastafari, echoing their experiences of oppression, their resistance against unjust systems, and their enduring hope for a better world. In the 21st century, Rastafari has evolved and diversified, sprouting branches worldwide. Contemporary figure, Queen Ifrica, a reggae singer and activist, embodies the Rastafari fight against injustice and the empowerment of Afro-Jamaican identities. It's important to recognize that Rastafari is not a monolith. Practices and beliefs can vary greatly among Rastafarians. Some see Selassie purely as a symbol of black empowerment rather than a divine figure. This is indicative of the movement's diversity and breadth of interpretation. In terms of ritual symbols, the Lion of Judah is significant in Rastafarianism, symbolizing both Emperor Selassie, who was referred to as the conquering Lion of Judah, and strength. The Ankh, an ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic symbolizing life, is also seen frequently within the movement. It's also interesting to look at how Rastafari interacts with other religions. There are strong Judeo-Christian influences, with Rastafarians often citing the Holy Bible as a primary text. But there's a distinct reinterpretation, with Rastafarians seeing biblical events as Black history and prophecy. For example, the biblical Exodus is not viewed as an ancient event, but as an ongoing experience of African people in diaspora. The deliverance from Egypt is equated to liberation from modern forms of racial oppression, or Babylon, and the return to the Promised Land is seen as repatriation to Africa. The Rastafari movement has undeniably faced opposition and discrimination. Early followers were marginalized, subjected to violence, and even labeled as insane. The Coral Gardens incident in 1963, often referred to as Bad Friday, saw violent persecution of Rastafarians in Jamaica, highlighting the struggle this community faced. Yet, despite such adversity, the resilience and growth of Rastafari have been remarkable. The movement has blossomed, from its humble Jamaican beginnings to have global impact, inspiring people all over the world, with its message of unity, resistance, and spirituality. Today, Rastafari continues to challenge established norms, encouraging introspection and a quest for truth beyond the surface. Its emphasis on equality and social justice, its respect for the natural world, and its commitment to peace and love are messages that resonate with many, irrespective of their personal beliefs. Rastafari is more than just a religion, more than a philosophy. It's a lifestyle, an ideology, a political movement, and a beacon of hope for those fighting against oppression. It gives voice to the voiceless and echoes a call for unity among the scattered children of Africa. Whether you've found your heart swaying to the reggae rhythm of a Bob Marley song, or you've been captivated by the strength symbolized in the dreadlocks of a Rasta, Rastafari's influence is evident in numerous facets of global culture. But as we close this journey, remember, Rastafari isn't simply a spectacle to be observed from the outside. It's a testament to human resilience and the power of belief, an echo of Africa's past, and a vision of a unified, harmonious future. In the words of Bob Marley, one love, one heart. Stay curious, stay philosophical, and as always, continue to examine the world around you. Please subscribe to this channel,